Alright, it's 6 o'clock, we're gonna get started. Alright, I'm gonna call to order the meeting. I need roll call.
Starbeck.
Here.
Debbie.
Here.
Norman.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Grant. Here. Edmund.
Alright, we'll do Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall over there on the bulletin board. It's also available in pamphlet form at the website listed here. We need the approval of the minutes for the July 29th, 2024 budget workshop, the August 5th, 2024 special meeting, the September 10th, 2024 regular meeting, and September 20th, 2024 budget hearing / special meeting.
Didn't you say don't approve?
Don't approve the 29th.
Okay.
Oh, please omit that in the motion.
So.
I'll make a motion to approve all that, but omitting July 29th.
July 29th. Yeah, there's a 20th.
Oh.
Sorry. I need a second, please.
Second.
Grant.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Starbeck.
Yes.
Debbie.
Yes.
Alright. Reports, golf.
What did we talk about? They are having, Missy let me know that they're having light speed issues, and she might be able to elaborate a little bit more on that. They're asking for the closing date of October 13th, weather dependent, and for the, what do you call that tournament? The members tournament. They're asking to discount the alcohol to cost, which is 50%. We did talk about the golf carts, and they're looking into asking questions whether they could get permission to cross the trail somewhere, and they'll get back to us on that.
Okay.
Is that about all?
Yeah, we kind of went over Shane's wedding a little bit and the updates on that. The light speed issue, we had a meeting with the guy today, but it was the wrong guy. So Julia's setting up another meeting. We should have the issues fixed by Saturday. I don't know, some glitch that it just won't print receipts and is throwing a prompt that makes us hit it twice before we can run the next sale. So I know that's gonna really slow us down for Shane's wedding with 400 people, so I need to get that going. The golf cart deal crossing over, Jay and Dalton met with some trail people today, so that's kind of still up in the air. I think that was just kind of the start. I don't know much about that. So Blue set that up. That's about all of that.
Park?
I'm still waiting on a call back from 2 different places on the trees in the park that we need to get cut down. They're supposed to call me today. I never got the call from them, so I'm gonna talk to them tomorrow. The water up at the Peabody Hill, those guys have been working up there this afternoon. Looks very good. They're getting most of it done, so it should be done here in the next couple of days. That's all I got.
Have we had any update on the building removal by small builder? Have we communicated with them or tried to?
Tried to.
Where are we at?
He doesn't want it.
place it on the agenda for the next park board meeting, so we can look at alternatives at this point.
Alright, Swan?
So I'd like to read everybody our new risk management policy for Swan, because this is just how they're gonna operate in town, and people aren't gonna like it, the ones that it affects, but it's the way it's gonna be. It's dictated by insurance. So Solid Waste Agency of Northwest Nebraska has initiated a policy for risk management throughout the area. We are working to address issues that pose a threat to keeping our agency running efficiently. We've sent flyers setting a policy to inform people, to park 15 feet back from dumpsters so trucks are able to pick up the trash. The reason they did that is because those don't always land on the hooks right, and they can get it up in the air, and if your car's parked there and it comes off those hooks, your car's gone. So be mindful of that policy, please. We introduced an out-of-service sticker program that alerts the public in neighborhoods that some items placed within the dumpsters are not safe to be lifted or loaded into trucks. Waste cannot be hauled until the issue is resolved by the residents using the dumpsters. These policies help allow Swan to operate in a manner that keeps waste collection drivers safe and the public out of harm's way and keeps our trucks free from damage. Our insurance carrier, LARM, has suggested we make strong policy changes that protects the business and the public we serve. We are eliminating hazards such as backing up to an absolute minimum. We are forced in some areas, and in some cases, to back down alleys that have foam pedestals, gas meters, and sometimes buried with snow. These also include property from the public that impedes the city right of way. Our agency has been able to save thousands of dollars by being classified as truck drivers, not garbage men that throw cans of waste into a backloading collection truck by hand. So Swan will begin to move dumpsters to safer locations to place our collection dumpsters for efficient pickup, mitigate risk and obstacles. We will continue to address overgrown alleys throughout each town as we serve each town we serve as part of this safer location process. This lessens downtime or insurance claims, causing fees to become higher. Ultimately, this allows us to repair and fix inventory which needs upgrades to keep the waste removal process moving forward. So you are gonna see, if you have overgrown trees in your alley, feel free to get them cut now, because if they come through and cut them, you may not like how the trees look. It is in our ordinances that the property owners are to maintain the alleyways as well. So they've already done this in Gordon. It's just how it's gonna be. They're breaking mirrors and stuff because these trees are hanging into the alleys, and all it does is drive up our cost, which then we all end up paying higher bills. And the dumpsters, I rode with the driver that picks up here one morning, and he does a lot of backing down, all the way down alleys to pick up and then drive back out. Those are gonna go away. Those dumpsters are gonna go in the front on the street. So then that's to cut down on parking and things like that, and please don't park within 15 feet of the dumpster. And that's pretty much all I've got to report.
Library.
Yes, just a couple highlights. Good evening, everyone. My name is
just wanted to let you all know that our Tech Talk series is going really well, and the last one is coming up this Thursday. It'll be a showing of a documentary called Secrets in Your Data, telling us about metadata, what it is, how it gets spread, and what we can do about it. And elsewhere, the fall programming that I promised is now being promoted. We have our Crawford author series featuring local literary talents, such as Roger Campbell, for example, a fiction novelist, and a regional guest who's originally from Alliance, and he's since gone off and done great things in the world, to include writing a book that won the Independent Press Award, which in the literary world is a pretty big deal, but I got him to come all the way from North Carolina to here. And then, I wanted to give you guys a heads up that Tuesday, October 1st, there might be a bit of a delayed open because I have a training in Alliance, but I might find some volunteer coverage so that we don't have any gaps or delays. And then elsewhere, the last note is that the accreditation process is just about finished early. So we will get that package submitted to the Nebraska Library Commission on the 30th of September. And then hopefully we will be presenting a brief report to the council and to the community at large at the 2nd October council meeting as part of our library department report. So unless there's any questions, thank you all so much.
Thank you. NNDC? Oh,
No, you're good.
sorry. Go ahead.
Unless did we have a hospital meeting at all?
I'll circle back to
That's
Okay.
not till Monday.
Gotcha. We kind of went over some of the findings with our Golden Shovel meetings and Zoom interviews that had happened. We didn't get any results. We'll actually be meeting again next month, which is out of the norm for us. We normally meet every other month, but in order to go over all of these reports, we'll be going and meeting again next month. We did go over a couple other kind of local meetings that affect that office. Career Connections, the Heartland Expressway Association, they just got done holding their annual meeting in Shadow on October 22nd. She kind of gave us a heads up on how that impacts our region. Other than that, it was kind of just a really quick meeting. There wasn't anything that was more than
Okay. And you said no meeting till later?
Till Monday.
All right, thanks everyone that reported. Number 6, ordinances. Discuss, approve, disapprove first reading of an ordinance for golf carts allowed within city limits.
I don't really feel like we're far enough along with the discussion on these golf carts to consider it first reading.
So,
I've got a lot of things, if you want me to go through them, I can. There's just a lot of issues that,
we can take no action, Tony.
But at this,
well, yeah, everybody else should be able to talk.
well, and also, is this an opportunity for us to kind of present some of the challenges that he's seeing? Because otherwise it's one phone call to one person at a time, and so I think you should present some of the things that you're seeing as issues, and
Okay.
that can give the other members food for thought.
Well, basically, I'm wondering about what kind of requirements that we'll have, like, just for instance, are we gonna require headlights, tail lights, are we gonna have speed restrictions? How are we gonna deal with alcohol? Is that gonna be, like a motor vehicle violation? I don't really know. If we move on to licensing, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna license them, if we're gonna license them, the fee that's gonna be there. Another issue that I have, that I thought of is like a restriction as far as driving on sidewalks, to get to your own personal property. the carts are currently using rails to trails to access down in the golf course via the ball fields. They go right through the ball fields. I think the golf board needs to have something in place before we create a monster in town for our law enforcement, or, you know, if we don't have all our stuff in place, then we create a problem for ourselves also. So, so by passing some ordinance, even though if it's a first reading, without having an access route to town, we're just creating a big problem, and the conflict, I think, will probably be with rails to trails. I don't know that for sure, but they need to work through that before we ever allow anything in town, my opinion only. And another thing that I looked at is this gonna affect the cart storage at the golf course? Is it gonna cost them revenue? I don't know any of these things. And then is state regulation gonna be the same for golf carts as motor vehicles? There's just a lot of stuff out there that we haven't discussed, and I just don't see it moving forward at this time.
So Tony, I kind of spoke to you about some of your concerns, and I spent the time to read through the proposed ordinance that Adam presented to us, and it covers a few of those concerns. As far as like general vehicle requirements, laws, whatnot, that would apply to them because they're on the streets. And so that helps cover a lot of that.
But it's a different class of vehicle, correct?
Correct, but this also represents a lot of what the state has for statutes too, so.
It would be considered a motorized vehicle by statute, so.
By statute.
If you said alcohol, same rules would apply.
So they'd have to stay off the sidewalks, they'd have to, you know, all of that, because it just has to be
Well,
treated as
I
just
know.
And I think the state statute and the ordinance reflect the maximum speed, and that is statutory, so.
So are
But some of your questions are valid, Tony.
Are the penalties the same?
If you're speeding, the officer can cite them for speeding under the state statute, yeah. Or under our city ordinance, either way. Same with alcohol. Same with alcohol.
So then, also in section 2, he had here where the operator would have to provide insurance, and it has
I understood that,
specifics on
yeah.
it. And then in the end, it says the permit fee shall be set by resolution by the city council. So we can decide that has a fee to attach that to get kind of a city registration in a sense. So I think that applies great to the idea that you had, where we could incorporate that as a resolution in addition to this. I do agree with you that this does bring up challenges and concerns with rails to trails, but I do think we can pass this and ask them to abide by where it currently is, where they're asked to stay off of it. It's where it is possible for them to get there
But I think
without
it's
being on
already-
the trail.
I think it's already been done.
If they go through the park on the north side of the golf course, they can get there.
And if they decide
But
to
if they
ride-
choose not to, then they're breaking the law, just as if they were driving
we have
around
it?
drinking, or if they're driving around on the sidewalks, so.
So it'd be just like, I don't know, if you can answer any questions, or?
Any questions, we'll refer back to sheriff's office.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna make sure
And-
everybody talks.
But
And as we get closer, if you did first reading, or if you don't do first reading, we'll send it over to Sheriff Johns. And like I said, the ordinance is drafted, reflects the state statute. Those are the minimal requirements. That's not to say there's other things you can't attach to it, you have the ability to do that locally. Alright.
So you can attach, after the first reading, you can attach.
It's, if we go through 3 readings, you can amend it after the first if there's things you want to change. Jake?
So I will say from an insurance standpoint, most everybody's homeowner's insurance will cover golf cart usage on the course or servicing their personal residence, but it doesn't extend to driving down the street, going to the grocery store, anything
And
like
state
that.
statute and the ordinances as prepared does put some limits in with regard to the coverage they would have to operate in this capacity.
So it can be acquired, but it would have to be on a different policy.
And I do think that, you know, as you get closer to a third, if you go forward, or whenever you go forward, you're obviously gonna have to get stickers to show law enforcement that they comply.
Right.
You're gonna have to create an application for the owner to come in and fill out when they pay their fee, and you're gonna have to decide what a fee would be by resolution. I say doing that by resolution because if you put it in the ordinance, you're gonna have to change the ordinance every year. Resolution you can change annually without having to go through the reading. Like I said, this was just the discussion we had last meeting, so I put together an ordinance for you to start with. If you're not
Okay.
comfortable first reading tonight, certainly we can push it. Alright, Drew, you had a question?
I was just
You
gonna
got
comment that
Please.
golf carts have restrictions on speed. I mean, you're not gonna go faster than any ATV or side by side in town. And I don't know what the restrictions or licensings on ATVs or even in town are. We don't have, I know my ATV doesn't need a license plate.
They've never had licensing.
So, I mean, we're getting in a really tough battle, I think.
Well, the speed is determined still by the sheriff's
Well,
department,
and this
and the
ordinance,
signs that are posted.
this
so-
ordinance does include golf carts and what the statutes define as low-speed vehicles. Because some golf carts would fit in a low-speed vehicle because they go a little faster than the old golf carts go. Some of the newer golf carts will get right after it, but this still has a speed restriction that you still have to abide by the speed limits on the streets of town if you're operating. Missy, you had a question?
So about the storage is full. We don't have any means to build more storage. And as for Irene a few years back was asked to take her cart out of storage so that we could get out of town people in the storage. Because she lived in town, she could drive there. I don't know how many other people that don't store their cart out there have had that issue. So we don't have out there anywhere to put any more carts. She would have to move stuff and then we would maybe get 6 more in if.
So the idea that if you lost a couple in-town people that decided not to store out there and wanted to store at their house, you could potentially fill it with out-of-town people then? So it wouldn't be a
Definitely.
major
I have a
problem.
waiting list of people that
Okay.
would go into those
Good to
slots
know.
that,
Sure, thank you.
yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
But what this could conceivably do is lessen the violations of golf cart owners driving down the highway to go get gas. Which everybody does, cause unless they bring their gas to the course, the sheriff's office doesn't have time to write tickets for everybody doing that, but it would alleviate that issue. Like I said, I'm not for or against it, I'm just telling you that that's a problem, or it could be a problem if that became an issue of enforcement. So, but I think there are some things to work out with rails to trails, or whatever they call themselves, to get it
Or
across.
alternative access.
Or an alternative access, sure.
Do they, do the new ones have speedometers and stuff like that? How are you
Most of
gonna-
them don't, yeah, so,
The new ones do,
yeah.
The ones that could go fast
Mine
enough
do.
to make trouble probably do,
but
but
it
the
won't
ones
go
that
that fast.
probably don't have a chance of getting fast enough don't.
But most people that travel
Law-abiding
from
citizens.
town, they go straight to the golf course, straight back. They're not really putting around town using it as a, get around town vehicle. Just so that everyone's aware of that they go straight there, straight back. I don't know who's drinking and driving back, but that's on them, not me.
Blue,
Several of the new cars are equipped with headlights and taillights. And we use ours even during the daylight, when we drive out on the highway, along the highway, we turn our lights on. And no, we do not have alcohol open.
right.
We had an empty beer can in there several years ago and we got stopped and the guy said, well, let's not do it again. So you don't,
And I think the state statute takes that into consideration, the lights on older cars that don't have them. That's why it's a dusk till dawn.
it's a daylight hour only situation, state statute says that, this ordinance says that, it's not after dark, you're not driving after dark. Because most golf carts, older golf carts don't have lights.
Yes, Edward?
Now, is this ordinance only, would it only be for taking your golf carts from town to the course, or would it just allow golf carts in town to do everything that you want to do?
It allows,
So
it
you
allows.
just have golf carts
use-
running
use
like
in town.
crazy.
It could possibly lead to that, I mean,
Now, is there
Be
any
like in
licensing?
Arizona,
Well, the next
retirement
question then is there
community.
licensing stuck to that? Do you have to be 16 years or older
you
to
have to have
drive
a
it?
class O driver's license. And you have to, like, again, pay a yearly fee, have a tag of some sort that the city would come up with, go in and fill out your application and get your tag.
And then we have in here too, to get that tag, you have to provide the driver's license and proof of insurance, so.
Those are statutory regulated.
Yes, Dennis?
How might this affect Jake Hinks?
Well, if we adopt it, it doesn't affect him at all, it just supports him.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he has a Class O or any of that kind of stuff, so that's why I was.
Without knowing anything, we can't
I
really
see.
answer.
I have
He's
no idea.
not qualified for one visitation.
I
I
know
don't
it's a
think
big
we
can
can
of worms.
take
that-
that
Yeah.
discussion any
Yeah,
further.
I think we should.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
All I'm
that's
saying
right
is
there.
you have to have,
Stop.
you have to have a Class O, valid Class O driver's license to operate if this was passed.
Yes.
And it's statutory and it would be in the ordinance. So if you don't have a Class O,
Yeah, I just thought
You're not
it'd be
qualified.
worth considering.
My
Yeah,
my
no.
question is, what are we differing from ATVs and side-by-sides with the golf carts? You say bringing up a licensing fee and registration. Are you
Statutes
gonna
are-
include ATVs
the
then?
statutes are different. We have,
Okay,
we
so
have
that
AT
is the-
we have ATV ordinance as well, which maybe,
Right.
maybe they need to be updated, maybe we should charge a fee, that's for the council to decide.
But do you have a Class O license? I mean, it's 16 and older?
They're a little different for ATV, UTV, they're different statutes. This is just focused on golf carts, and again.
I think your golf cart owners are minimal in
Until
town.
18 or 19, they were forbidden. I mean, I think some of this, I'm gonna say this, but some of this came out of COVID and people they just used them locally around town. It's that they didn't need to go anywhere in their car. That's what I get from it. And so some communities pass an ordinance like this, some have then sunsetted those ordinances, but again, it's certainly worthwhile to discuss. It was, this is a good discussion. But this ordinance as drafted is pretty bare bones based on state statute and what other communities have.
So that brings up a good.
You don't wanna be an Arizona retirement community.
Can we put a, like a sunset clause in this to, like, let's try it out for a
Sure.
year and if it's just a
You could
disaster.
expire it, you could expire December 31st of 2025 and see if it works. If that's the wish, or if that's what you wanna see in.
Sam, you had a question?
I guess my question is what is the main purpose? I mean, why are we even looking at this? I mean, we have Amish driving down the street every day in a cart and buggy. I mean, what is your purpose here? And if there is no purpose, and we're just trying to be like everybody else, like the Arizona retirement people and everything else, I think it's a waste of time.
I believe the purpose is, we've had people come to us and request this to be looked at because they, right now, driving the golf cart on the street, correct me if I'm wrong, or refer to the sheriff's office, is not legal. So, that's why we're looking into it.
Have you looked at other cities' clauses or anything, or?
That's
The
right.
whole package.
I have the whole packet of different places and different.
I'm just.
I'll order these two
yeah,
around,
yeah.
I didn't find any very far away. So, is it, I guess the wishes, I don't have a problem with not doing the first reading tonight, or doing the first reading, doesn't matter.
Well, if a lot of my issues were covered, because I wasn't aware we had, an ordinance already written up, I have not seen that, so that's my fault, but if a lot of those issues are covered in this ordinance, then.
But I would suggest you go through 3 readings with it. If there's been enough discussion, I think it needs to be discussed 3
Yeah.
times. And if there's changes that you would like to see in the next reading, certainly reach out and let me know.
I mean, I would be okay with moving ahead on that.
Sunset right there.
It's the census in there already. So do we feel we're comfortable with this, at least the first reading then? Okay.
I would think so, yes.
Ordinance number 697, golf cart and low-speed vehicle ordinance. An ordinance of the city of Crawford, Nebraska, creating chapter 3, section 3-423, relating to golf carts and low-speed vehicles, to allow the operation of golf carts and low-speed vehicles within the corporation limits under certain circumstances, to impose restrictions on the use of golf carts and low-speed vehicles, to establish penalties for violation, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and to provide for the publication of this ordinance and prescribe the time when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect.
Alright, yes, I
What,
don't.
what does and low-speed vehicles mean?
There's a definition in there. Again, low-speed vehicles are defined by state statute. Some golf carts qualify because they can go faster than an old style golf cart.
Okay.
And basically, it deals with speed, weight of the vehicle. Some of these new golf carts are heavier, so they've created a second category, if you will.
Okay.
Statute and this ordinance define what those 2 things are, but they're basically very synonymous because, again, we're trying to catch, under the old old golf carts don't go as fast as the new ones do. It's just a fact, you know. So we've included the low speed because some of the newer golf carts can fit into that. Now, that being said, we still have a maximum speed, whether it's a golf cart or a low speed vehicle.
Okay.
So.
Can you word that to include the e-bikes?
I'd have to look at the statute to see if there's anything that even allows them. I don't think there's anything that says you can't rent an e-bike. I don't know. Text me.
Quote. Sure.
Alright,
No, it's fair enough. I don't think there's any regulations.
we gotta move on to 7. I'll remind everyone, please, hand raises, no jumping in with questions, wait to be called upon, and stand when called on, please. Alright. Number 7, discuss, approve, disapprove Shane Norman utilizing the transportation bus for his September 28th wedding in the amount of $125. And I see Cindy's not here to talk about it. So I
I
guess,
just had the one question to see if we just had a driver that was okay with those hours.
I believe she was the one going to drive. So
She is, I spoke to her earlier today, she asked if she should be here, and I felt like if she didn't want to be here, it would be okay, because it's pretty straightforward.
Sure.
She's more than happy to
As
do
long
it.
as she's okay,
She
yeah.
literally said, I love to do, the after hours, or the outside of regular hour stuff, so.
Sure.
Just chiming in there.
And so, I'll add part of what we talked about. We're gonna pay $125, and then every everyone that rides on it has to pay whatever it would cost to normally go to where they're going, so.
Okay.
It won't be a free thing by any means.
Shane, is
Yes,
this just to
Scott.
alleviate drinking and driving?
Yes, yeah, that's the main reason, and possibly parking, depending on how many show up, so. Yes,
Okay.
Dennis?
What are the hours that you're planning on doing this?
I believe we're gonna run from like 4:30 to midnight-ish, but I mean, she won't be driving the entire time. She figured on about 4 hours of actual work, I think, or 5 hours of actual work. Yes?
Is this gonna be something that you're gonna start doing regularly if people are interested in it?
This has been done before.
before.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Brent,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Storbit.
Alright, number 8, discuss, approve, disapprove granting transport supervisor Cindy Drinkwater permission to drive outside of the designated days and times.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Storbit.
Yes.
And just real fast to answer a previous question, that's just 3 PM to 12 AM is what Cindy had written on her request form. No, no problem.
Pull that up.
Just be clear.
Yep, thank you. Number 9, discuss, approve, disapprove request by Northwest Auto Body owner Creighton Grant to close 2nd Street from the alley north of the post office to Pine Street on October 12th, 2024 for a mini car show. Creighton, do you have anything you would like to add, anything for it?
Pretty straightforward. Do these mini cars go more than 25 miles an hour? Sorry. Gotta keep it light.
Alright.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from North.
I'll second the motion.
Storbit. Gabby,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
abstain, Grant.
Alright, number 10, discuss, approve, disapprove SDL at the old Napa building at 135 Main for the tailgate bar and grill for the Dyer Tangwall wedding from 12 PM on October 12th, 2024 to 1 AM on October 13th, 2024. And just to add, this was an emergency ad due to time frame. They need to get the SDL.
I'd make a motion to
I'll second. Gabby,
yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Storbit,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Alright, number 11, discuss, approve, disapprove of soliciting bids for electrical and plumbing services for the medical clinic, as well as electrical services for the police station and maintenance shop. I'll quickly say the main reason on this. It needs updated for us to be able to keep insurance. Granted, right now, our insurance coverage is there, but for us to be able to go forward and keep insurance, we have to update electrical and plumbing and meet codes. Edward, yes, sir.
What is the maintenance shop?
The maintenance shop would be the street shop up at,
Up off Van Aaron? Our shop?
up along near the highway,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think we need to hold off on the clinic for right now.
Okay.
As far as,
Cause we need to work on the other deal.
so that's part of what I
So
wanna, I
you-
guess, discuss on this is, I think there needs to be an inclusion on some of these properties. And maybe Jake can fill in some details, I guess, but possibly a commercial realtor to see whether it's even, to include getting a commercial realtor and or realtor local, whatever it may be, to see the value of these buildings if we were to even put the money into redoing wiring and plumbing. In conjunction, I guess, with getting these bids as well, because once we get those bids, that doesn't tell me anything. I don't wanna spend $20, $40, $60, $80,000 to redo plumbing and electrical in these buildings that may not be worth $35,000 once you're done. So I would,
I think that's a great idea.
I'd
We can, but
expand on this.
the cost of the realtor shouldn't be over 30, so we shouldn't have to bid that, but we could include that as a request.
But yeah, to give us a general idea on the main buildings in question. Some of the other ones that Jake provided on his list, I mean, those two, I mean, we need to see if they're tear downs or.
I can tell you
So-
right now that the, police station building, you're not gonna get, a solid, estimate on that because there's a ton of variables, there's sub panels all over. And because it's a commercial building, when the electrical inspector walks in, it's all gonna change, cause he's gonna require more than just, service upgrade, right?
Yep,
The street shop is the only one that's gonna be pretty straightforward, I can guarantee you that. The old hospital is an absolute nightmare. So.
So Jake, would you be willing to shed some light on where we're at with these buildings and?
Is there a time frame before they're cut off completely? Is it?
So, as we had to remarket for insurance this year, my concerns on going into those buildings was having any inspector come and say, okay, great, here's 60 days to have this updated, or, you know, we're just flat cancel. Those three buildings, were the main concerns, because those are the ones that are in use every day. And those are the ones that, if I walk in and go, there's some problems here. You know, I don't have any very keen eye when it comes to electrical, as Skip can probably attest, but, you know, but when you go in and there's just wire coming out through the ceiling and an outlet, or, you know, fuse panels instead of breakers. And then when we get into the plumbing side, if you're looking at old metal pipes in there, a lot of these companies are requiring upgrades within the last 35 years, or they're just not willing to write those, because of the amount of property damage risks that come into play.
So you said that they're giving us a potential of 60 days?
No, not now.
They
Not yet.
haven't yet.
So, no, but what I'm saying here is the way that we've got the policy structured right now, with actual cash values on those buildings and not a replacement cost policies on those. I don't foresee that they're gonna come in and give us that.
But that doesn't mean they can't.
Doesn't mean they can't. Most of these commercial policies.
Is there any reason that they're stuck to 60 days? Cause that's not reasonable by any standard. I mean, as a municipality, there's no way we get most things done in 60 days. Government is slow, but
right.
even from a personal standpoint, if that was my home, it would be hard for me to get the required help and get it scheduled and get them to come and do something like that in that amount of time.
So when I say the 60 days, that's their mandatory minimum that they can give you. They can, a company can go out and say, okay, have this done in 6 months, 9 months. They can put that limit on it, but the 60 days is the minimum required that they have to give you.
Do you feel that if we show effort of due diligence, they'd be?
Yeah, most companies are willing to work with you and say, yep, we realize you're in an area that contractors are hard to come by.
And that's why this is on this agenda, we need to start the discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
So another thing with the old hospital, it really needs to be, if we're gonna go forward with this, it's gonna have to be drawn up by an engineer. Nobody's gonna touch that building, especially when we're talking plumbing and electrical. No one's gonna touch that building until an engineer draws everything up and what needs changed. And then we also have to work with, we have to actually get the CEO of the hospital to come over, like for the electrical portion, and say, look, this is our vision for the building, so that we can calculate, do a load calc on it, just to determine what site service needs to be put in. I mean, there's a lot to that hospital building. Like I said, the street shop's pretty straightforward. I'm not sure that the cop shop building is worth putting money into. That one's gonna be pretty pricey as well.
Which does not mean we don't care about our service.
Our heating and insulation is being looked at as well. I know where the service line for the water that comes into the cop shop, you can stand in that room back there and look out the back door and see daylight through the door, so, I mean, that's kind of a concern, at least in the winter, and then I know there's only heating on the small half of the street shop as well.
So, that's kind of why I want possibly the realtor involved as far as looking at it. We have to look at all options, because quite frankly, we don't have any money anymore. All these things have to be, we have to slow down a little bit, even though there are fires burning. And we have to do our due diligence, because at this point, an overspend of $100,000 on a building that isn't gonna do us any good is, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
That's why these buildings are in the shape they're in. And I feel comfortable in it, maybe some of the other council members, I don't know, but there's a possible light of a new clinic would be easier to fund with the assistance of the hospital, and that's through talks that I've already had. That may be easier to come into fruition in a real possibility, not just blowing smoke, but then to try and fix some of these buildings and it not even work out, like you said, then it needs to be insulated, then it needs to be this, and then those bills rack up so much faster that there's a lot of hope in a possibly new clinic completely. And then there's options that you can have with the building that you have available.
Yeah.
So
There is real grant funding possibilities for new construction. There is 0 grant funds out there for rehabbing.
Scott?
I guess I had a question. I know about 6-9 months ago, the plan was to convert the street shop to the old fire hall, and that we had approved to put new door openers in, new electricity in, spray insulation in, and we spent and approved a ton of money for that. What's the status of that building being the street shop instead of the one we have?
So we at a point asked to stop all stuff on that till we got a treasurer's report, so we didn't, spend tons of money. The other thing is when Dan came in, he did find a letter that stated it was not structurally sound.
So how much money did we end up spending on that building, what we wasted?
But I don't think it's wasted. I think there's possibilities for that building. It might cost some, but it's not gonna cost near what a new building with a cement floor and stuff like that. I've been through this, I went through the fire hall. Dan showed me the issues that they're looking at. Some of them I'm just going, every building in town has those issues, because they're all old. It's just the conditions of an aged building. It's not structurally anything that I saw, but we also have a bowling alley attached to that building that we're gonna have to figure out what to do there if we move ahead. And north wall, we'll have to figure out what we can do there, and then what it's gonna cost, and if it's financially reasonable to do. And of course, all the electrical was removed, all the plumbing was removed, those are all cost issues that we're gonna have to look at and determine if it's worth doing in the end, it's.
I just thought I would bring it up, because
We looked at it.
I can't stress this enough, just in a matter of 3 weeks I've been on, or 4 weeks now, I guess, on this council, that the amount of things that have come up in the last 4 weeks is mind-boggling. The can's been kicked down the road so far, there ain't no can left. And it's all here, and it's right in our face right now. And money spent in the past, I understand. I wish I was back there and knew all the details then to be able to figure it out now, but that's not how it is. We have to look at what we got, how we minimize cost, loss, all these types of things. And that's part of what the city council is supposed to be for. It's the future. We need to have hope. We need to set a precedence and figure this out. Create a picture of where we want to be and get the town behind us and move forward. All the stuff behind us, it's over. It is right here in front of us. We have buildings that we can't insure, buildings that need to be torn down, buildings that are collapsed in our downtown main market that nobody wants to pay to get rid of, or can pay. We don't have it. The city of Crawford doesn't have it, or they'd have been gone a long time ago. We have a pool that doesn't work. We could go down the list on and on. It's millions of dollars at this point, and we don't have it. So we are looking at every single option, but I can tell you, with speaking to the people that have already been working very hard, to Tony jumping in and wanting to stay on and trying to see this through, we are resourcing and calling people all across the country, looking at how other towns did it, how they pulled it off, and trying to find ways to make it happen. But even if you go get a grant, every time I talk to somebody, go get a grant, grants are easy, grants. Well, guess what? You gotta match 20 to 50% on a grant. And we don't have it. I mean, that's the other part, so we need to get private funding, and I've already talked to people, and some of them are local, that they want to invest money in the community if we can show them vision. And so that's what I'm trying to, like, my little part of this. So I mean, I'm not trying to ramble, but we are looking at all these things. We know every single property that the city has now, and we are trying to utilize them, get rid of them if they're dead loss, get rid of them if they're structurally unsound and unsafe. And we have to start from scratch and build a good foundation. Somebody mentioned the very first meeting I was here, do we care about the kids? There will be no town for these kids if we don't stop all this loss and start creating something. So I appreciate the comments, not trying to come down like, but we are working, trying to figure this out.
Alright, so moving forward on 11, do we have any, suggestion on wanting to, I mean,
Wanna do the
does
street
someone
shop?
propose doing, getting his recommendation of getting stuff aside, or what am I trying to say?
So we could, it sounds like we could make a motion to, get a bid, solicit bids for electrical on the maintenance shop, and to schedule a real estate agent to assess appropriate.
So, we're looking at estimates for the police station and the street shop.
We want both those.
Those would be estimates. The hospital is going to
Just
be a
gonna
bid,
hold off for now.
it's gonna be a bid process, and
Sure.
we gotta decide.
And
if
there's
we're gonna-
discussion there that they need to complete,
Well-
because this issue just got brought to them and he has to
Right.
discuss it with his, there's discussion there already going, but
We gotta decide whether
we have to
we
work
wanna
in tandem.
pay for an engineer to start the process on the hospital.
Or if they're
So-
willing to stay in the building even if
No,
he's.
it's not gonna cost anything to request a bid on it, at least that gives us some history, so.
Yep.
I'll just go ahead and make a motion to have the original statement, soliciting bids for the electrical and plumbing services on medical clinic as well as electrical services for both the police station and maintenance shop, and please add that we, solicit, real estate, estimates on,
Say both.
probably, yeah,
The clinic
the
and
police
the
station and
police
maintenance
station.
shop.
The clinic as well, I mean, find out the value of the building.
Sure, then we'll just say on all three properties then.
You're thinking formal appraisals or where you're thinking?
Sure, probably, yeah, so.
So what's the?
Did that make any sense
So
for
what's the
us?
proposal? So what's on the agenda, plus informal appraisals on the three buildings?
What'd he say?
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Grant? Thank you.
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
Surbeck?
Yes. Alright, number 12, discuss, approve, disapprove liquor license. So this is for the city liquor license that covers the golf course. It was requested to be brought up. How do we wanna go about this? Like who do we wanna have on this? This is ours that covers the golf course.
It's ours that covers everything.
Right, and this one, the only one we found when I called the golf, or the liquor commission is everything I pulled out is tied to the golf course. It all says Legend Beats Golf Course through the city of Crawford.
Yeah, that's the only license.
Yeah. So, that being said,
So is that, I'm sorry, so it's the only one required for selling packaged liquor, or
That's,
is it also to go?
it's.
Is it packaged or on site?
It's carry out and serve, in
So,
serve.
and-
Yeah, it's a full license.
So then if somebody has an event, like at the community building,
Yep.
that allows us to?
No, we usually, the city doesn't do those. Usually it's, one of the businesses in town, they get us SDL
Okay.
to have it at that.
So they have their business.
That's different. They're different things.
That's a.
They're different.
That's what I was thinking.
so
Okay, so
I
this
got a
is-
question,
okay.
Missy?
So it will allow you to go off premises, you just have to get a permit off of that license. We did it for the dog club
Well,
last
yeah.
year.
They
You
can get
would-
an
you-
SDL.
Yeah, they do an SDL,
You
just
can
like
get
the
an
other,
SDL.
yeah.
Yes, so
So-
you can do
so-
package, sell in-house,
We're allowed-
get an SDL, just like any other liquor license. and-
So when they do the fishing tournament, that's what
Yeah,
they're
they would
giving
be,
us a
they would be
SDL
like a
for that.
bar and have a carrier license, so
Yeah.
they could get an SDL.
Okay.
Alright,
So I think the discussion is, do we need more than one person to represent the city on this license?
There's 5 names total that go on.
Well-
but per the liquor commission lady that I talked to, there's no requirement for a number of names on it.
There's not. No.
So the question was posed then, who do we want to put on it?
I think if you say, typically it's been maybe the mayor and the president and the clerk, I don't know, what's our say now?
Right now, we've got, there's 5
Is it
people on
everybody?
it. No, right now, there's 5 people on it, and 2 of them are not here anymore, so we're trying to update that.
Is there any benefit to having more than one person on it?
So,
Well,
I'm gonna ask Connie a question. Connie, I was told you guys went to the mayor being on it, so that way, when there was turnover of managers, if they didn't come back,
Right.
it was still, you didn't have to reapply all the time
Right.
that way. Did you find that worked well?
Yeah.
Any issues with that?
No, I worked fine.
Okay,
And part of the reason, yeah, part of the reason, when you do the 4th of July, the city gets the SDL. And you have to put on the SDL, who's gonna be the manager and the mayor.
correct.
I got to put on that position.
And the recommendation of that lady was that the manager be the person that's actually handling the day-to-day out there, was her request. Or not request, but her statement, not request. But she said that's what she would recommend.
So how many names would you like to put on it?
Me personally, I'd like to put 3, because if the mayor for some reason would be sick or gone or whatnot,
Does it give you-
it could fall by, or kicked out, it could fall by proxy to the city council president. I would think 3 would be the way to go. You'd have your manager, the council president, and the mayor. That way, if something comes up, you're still covered, as long as the mayor and the manager or president,
And it can be a matter.
Yes.
Yeah,
That sounds reasonable.
but I can't ask for that to be, I can't make a motion.
No, but
So
I can.
need somebody
So I'll
else.
go ahead and, if you're done, I'll go ahead and make a motion that, we, approve the liquor license with the 3 signatures of the mayor, president of council, and the golf course manager, please.
Second.
Aaron,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Corbett.
Yes.
Alright. 13, discuss, approve, disapprove pool committee formation. So, my thought on this is, my suggestion is I'd like to see 2 council members, a park board member, decided on tonight to start it. And then from there, I would like them to decide who they want on their committee with the people that signed up requesting. I don't know as the rest of us need to interject in that, because they would be running it. I want them to decide. That's my suggestion. Yes, Scott?
I have one added to that, I'd like the swimming pool manager to be added to that.
that would be for discussion when everything's made. Or it could be proposed tonight, I prefer tonight.
I have a comment on that. She sees will help though. I don't think you can necessarily, I mean, you might have to explore that. Just a thought.
For this
This is just an advisory
Yeah.
steering committee, if you will, so there's no statutory requirement.
And the people can all, I mean, you can have people on it that live out of town, it's not a, legal thing, it's people trying to get together to figure out stuff. I thought 2 council members and a park board member would be a good way to go, there'd be good communication.
I would like to volunteer for that, one of the positions.
I love your idea, but I am tapped, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I,
Step forward.
I'm not saying that's what I want, it was an idea, I'm throwing
I
it
don't
out
think it's
there.
a
I
bad
would be
idea, I just
willing to
can't.
be the only council member, because here's my position as far as what I'm looking at. I'm not gonna be doing the work. I'm there for advisory purposes only. I would like park board, basically member to be the same. The committee is gonna be self-sufficient, they can elect their own president, their own chairman, whatever they want. And they're gonna be the ones, this is a voluntary committee for the purpose of raising money for funds that the city doesn't have again. So I'm not gonna be investing my time doing the grants, chasing stuff down, I can't. I have to concentrate on the city business. And as far as this goes, this is a voluntary committee to raise private funds or through grants that they would have to find the other end of that, because the city doesn't have any money. And my, first thing I would say to the committee, if I am that rep, is that it's not only gonna be the money to fix or build a new pool, but it's also gonna be the money to sustain it for 2 to 5 years, because I'm looking at future budget and we don't even have that money. We are broke. We don't have the money to operate that.
Do you have an interested party in the park board you'd like to select as yourself?
I'd like, Scott.
I'll go ahead and, make a, good grief, I'm out of words.
A motion?
Yeah, that's what that's called. I'll make a motion to approve the committee formation with the leadership of Councilmember Gibby and Park Board member Scott DeBach to complete the rest of the committee.
Second.
Chris,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
Absolutely.
Sturman,
Yes.
Thank you, Brent.
Alright. Number 14, discuss, approve, disapprove resignation of Dan Bryan. Do I have any discussion? Alright, need a motion.
I motion to accept the resignation of Dan.
I'll second.
Gabby,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
No.
Sturman.
Yes.
Alright. 15, discuss, approve, disapprove cemetery deed for Dan Gray.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Sturman.
Yes.
Alright, 16, discuss, approve, disapprove recommendations for the golf board. I did reach out and talk to the people that were interested, and after that, my 2 recommendations are Jeremy Kennedy, and I'm bad with names, so I wanna make sure I say hers correctly. Julie Haas, I believe is how it says. Is that correct? Last name's Haas? Okay, that would be my 2 recommendations.
Make a motion to approve the recommendations for golf board by the mayor.
I'll second.
Dean,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Sturman.
Yes.
Alright, 18, discuss, approve, disapprove repair of the William Percy Homestead cabin roof bridge repair.
No,
Excuse me.
that's very important.
Oh. So, Discuss, approve, disapprove extending the season for the golf course and clubhouse to October 13th, 2024.
Did we not? So my understanding was last meeting was it that we were ending the season well before October, was it October 1st that we were supposed to?
October 1st is the actual date that they, what is it?
It's the beginning of the new year.
Fiscal year.
First.
Right, and being Shane's doing the, I'll stand up. Being Shane's doing his wedding out there the last weekend of the season, we asked that we could do the members appreciation and get rid of all the leftover beer that's already open that we can't sell back at the discount price so that we still get the money that's put out, but it just gets out of there. We don't end up throwing it away.
How much
And
did
it-
you throw away last year?
A lot.
How much?
Probably 25 garbage bags full.
Well over $1,000 we lost because we weren't allowed to sell the open stuff that the liquor people won't take back. Once it's open, they won't take it back. So we couldn't sell it last year, so we ended up dumping it $1,000 down the sink that we could have recouped, you know, our money for. So that's why we're approaching to see if we could do that.
So are we not slowing down alcohol purchases well before the end of the season with the understanding that we pour it down the drain or we lose it?
Always before, we have been allowed to sell the open things because some stuff sells, some stuff don't.
I guess here's my point on that, or the way I look at it is, we have privately owned business downtown, 3 of them that sell alcohol. And you're in direct competition with those, using the tax dollars that they provided to the city to purchase the alcohol. Then we offer it at a discounted price, taking more business away from them. And then if the golf course comes up short, I've understood in the past that they've requested Keno funds from 2 more of the businesses down there. So I mean, it seems like a very poor business plan, but as a restaurant owner myself and looking at some of the bills that I've been looking at for the amount of alcohol purchase, I tell my customers 2 to 3 weeks in advance, like, we're gonna be closing this date, and sorry if something runs out, but we're not reordering it.
That's what we have been doing, sir.
But $1,000 of over purchase is a lot.
But here's what happened last year, is we ended up doing a Christmas party out there for the city. So we didn't extend the season last year to do this process, cause they wanted to sell it at that Christmas party. Then they had me hold on to it for the dock club deal that goes on over at the community building. Well, Amanda Vogel had told me to open up all the cases and put them, and I was new, I was like a week or 2 into this as management, and open all the cases and put them in the coolers. And so I did that because we had 3 huge events that we put on before we closed. So I was stuck with all this open alcohol, not knowing what the process was last year. Now we're running it down, but I also have to have enough alcohol for Shane's wedding at the end of on Saturday, to not run out of alcohol for his event.
Heck, if we buy out of alcohol, great.
If we buy out of alcohol, then we're closed, we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not.
No, I mean, that'd be a good thing, though.
We haven't been opening any new product that comes in because they will take back the unopened, you know, cases and 12 packs and stuff. So she has not been.
Not overly open.
And this is
Yeah.
just the canned goods, the whiskey and stuff doesn't go back.
Yeah, the alcohol won't. We aren't talking alcohol, we're talking the beer, the Trulies, that kind of canned stuff that does have an expiration date on it.
And we did discuss in the park board meeting that the liquor will not be discounted.
No,
Only the stuff that will expire.
And, yeah, just the open stuff, not even if you come in for a case of beer, no. It'll just be the stuff that will be expired by April of next year.
The golf board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Well,
What did I say?
Park.
You said park, yeah, it'd be like,
I knew what you meant.
So,
I'm looking, it says park somewhere in here, so I can find it.
so what would we like to do?
Well, I guess I appreciate what you guys are saying, that you've been more proactive this year and not opening and whatnot. I have to agree with Brent though, I'm severely concerned in what's been ordered this year, especially in the last 2 months. And I realize that the majority of your season is in the last 2 months. I guess maybe that's a plea from my position and my seat here, is if there's a way that you can change up your schedule so that you're not putting all your eggs in the basket in the last 2 weeks of the season, that'd be really, really appreciated on behalf of the city. Because to ask us to support you in what feels just like a huge build-up, to then just have it all, you know, have a grand plan, and then if it doesn't work out, then we sell at a discount. Maybe work for the past, but I would like to see something drastically different next year, and I'm really not even sure I'm comfortable with it this year. But like we've stated time and time again up here, we're not sitting well, and I'm not comfortable with the amount of spending that I've seen. So I'm still feeling really conflicted about this year, but I would like to make this a specific request from my seat. I'd like to see some big changes as far as your scheduling next year, so that this is not a reoccurring issue.
I don't know, I don't schedule the tournament.
As a whole, just as a whole. I
Okay,
understand
cause I'm
that, but
saying,
I'm
I
just
don't
saying-
know.
I'm saying it as a whole so you can take it back to all of you that get together and make that schedule. But I'm pleading from my seat that it be changed, because it's not a good business plan to put that much weight at the last 3 weeks of the season, because you're setting yourself up for failure. And I don't think it's an intention by any means, but it's not anything that any of us are succeeding at. So I plead with you, do something different with your schedule for next year, please.
Yes,
Do you have the course both days this weekend? Then why can't you do the members tournament Sunday? And then you can still close on the 1st.
Well, it's already kind of late to change it because it's been advertised for a month. And we've got people signed up from out of town that are planning on coming.
Am I missing something? I thought 2 weeks ago there was not gonna be a members tournament at all.
The men's.
I thought that's why.
No, we said it needed to be on the agenda, that it had to be discussed.
But if they'd known about it for a month, why wasn't it on the agenda a month ago? My understanding was there wasn't gonna be a members tournament. They were closing October 1st, and that was that, and it was pretty much the end of the season, because I asked if there was any more tournaments for the remainder of the year, and there was not any, because that was when I was discussing why we had to charge somebody for a 2-day tournament when we don't have any tournaments left. That's what I understood, was there was no more tournaments, no members tournament, and the season was closing October 1st. And I'm not trying to be combative here, but
Okay.
that was my
The
understanding.
men's league.
So this was a surprise.
The men's league is the one that basically scheduled everything. I was not aware of it because I was in Texas for 2 weeks and it was scheduled while I was gone, so I cannot answer that question.
I'm going by what the board president, I just bring to council what they tell me to do. And I didn't realize, because last year that it was so wonky with everything, that had to be on agenda last 2 weeks after they had discussed it at the board meeting. I thought it was just something that they did, we go through with it, this is something that happens every year, we keep moving. So that's probably my fault for not knowing, but when Skip and Tony were at the last meeting, it seemed like, oh, that would be okay, yeah, we are short now a president and the extra board members, so we had 3 people at this meeting, and Blue hadn't been there for 2 weeks, so she was behind. And with Shane's wedding, he will have cleanup on Sunday, picking up tents, chairs, all of that kind of stuff. So putting on a tournament with 100 people and all of that going on as well is a little bit hectic. I mean, I'm just saying that it becomes a lot with 2 or 3 different things going
So
on at
are you
once.
having the members tournament though? So,
October.
I thought the,
No, the 5th would be the member, they wanted to do that on the 5th.
the members tournament is being held to help get rid of the excess alcohol, correct?
Right, and be
But it was
approved.
planned a month ago,
It wasn't probably a month, probably,
Too much going on.
2 months ago?
no, not even. It was at the last meeting that they had discussed it, so. Our last board meeting was,
I guess I'm trying to understand if it's the members meeting to try and get rid of alcohol, and it was weeks ago, why were we continuing to order that much alcohol to get to that point? This is what I'm having a hard time as a business owner, cause I'm signing these checks, I'm looking at what you guys are buying. $10,000 plus worth of booze and alcohol, what we approved 2 weeks ago, and there's thousands of dollars more this week. But if you knew there's no reason to have a tournament if you're winding down the purchase of alcohol. You're planning a tournament to sell alcohol a month away. Why are you not reducing the purchase of alcohol to get through the remainder of the season, not have to have a tournament to
we
sell
had
reduced price
2
alcohol?
huge tournaments, which
When was the last one?
the last one was,
Weekend after Labor Day.
yes.
Oh.
And then I haven't restocked anything, the salesman came, we didn't restock anything for Shane's wedding. We are going off of what we've got, he says he has 450 people coming. That's a lot of people to drink a lot of alcohol. I'm sure I will run very low on the beer and everything with that. But I've gotta stock my coolers with that to be prepared for his guests coming. He is a paying customer. But those tournaments, that one tournament, we cleared over or made $10,000 off of. The last one we did was like 8,000 something were our sales.
And those ones are scheduled that time every year because it keeps people knowing when they are coming back, and you're not directly competing with giant ones that are in every other town around. That's why those 2 are always there.
And it's
Completely understandable.
Right,
Like,
no, I
if
just
you
was
change them at the
asking.
beginning of the season, you can still do the same thing where you're not loading yourself up for trouble at the end of the season.
The warrants that we signed, I looked, at least the ones that I got to sign were from,
There's
August.
Yeah.
So she hasn't ordered anything September wise. Those were from gearing up for those final 2 tournaments.
There's one right from the 10th.
And I go by what, my liquor sales guys say. They're like, well, they've been doing this. The one guy's done it for 30 years. And so he stocks me appropriately to what, he looks at the list who's in the tournament, he knows what they drink. But, I don't know.
Scott?
Only thing I was gonna say, last council meeting, I thought this had kinda already been discussed, cause April made a motion to say, no, we're not buying, or we're not hiring any more part-time employees, we're closing on the 1st, and that was that. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out why we keep rambling on the same subject when it was decided last council meeting.
But now we're kinda stuck there.
Well,
You see,
for historical context, and Connie can maybe correct me a little bit, typically, the last couple of years, October 1st has been the day. But for 20 years before that, the board came in and said, can we open, or can we close on this date? It wasn't always October 1st. That just kind of became the day. But the golf board came in and said, well, we'd like to have a tournament on the 5th, whatever. And that's when they closed the week after. So the first kind of became the last 4 or 5 years the day. But there is some precedence.
But that's not the issue here. The issue.
No, I'm just giving you a little clarity.
Yeah, I understand dates can change, and that's not the issue. The issue is that we had a date last meeting. We've changed that now and given different reasons why. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of why that is. because we can't have this issue every year. But I think we're all in agreement that this, we have to set some sort of.
Stuff, right, I gotcha. So I could be wrapped up, I am sure, by the 6th or 7th. I mean, I don't need that extra week to shut things down and close it up. And the board discussed giving an extra week, but we technically would not be open after the 5th because we're gonna be sold out of everything, hopefully.
Well, if not, we pour it down the drain, right? We don't
Right.
have a choice.
Right.
If we could check 2 or 3 years back, in the month of October, we made $6,500 by staying open 2 extra weeks into October. And I think that's a pretty good chunk of change to bring to the city. So that is one thing, depending on the weather. If the weather is good, people come, they spend money, you know, and if the weather's not good, they don't open. I mean, so you're saving, you're not wages that way. But if the weather's good, I think $6,500 is a pretty good thing to think about.
Sure.
Drew?
I appreciate your insight. I sit from the perspective of I don't enjoy hearing that this is how we've done it. Because this is how we've done it has got us to where we are right now. So that's not anything I enjoy hearing right now. And for that reason alone, it's worth asking the questions and begging for change. But
Drew?
thank you.
I'm a business owner myself, and a lot of people are, but you're gonna stay open or try to make as much income as you can until you have to close. So you're arguing in a period of 4 or 5 days where there was 2 weddings and everything going on out of the golf course. I don't see an argument for another 5 days, maybe logistics wise for you getting paperwork and settling your annuals, but you know, it's just an extension to help with what's happened in the year.
There's argument to say though, there's expense to staying open. We have an employee, staffing issues that we already were addressed last time or 2 meetings ago, trying to put an ad in for temporary help. And there's more opportunity for things.
Do you spend money at the golf course?
No, I don't. And I have in the past, but not anymore. No, I don't. And that's because I simply don't have the time.
Roy?
I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers or anything, but in the past, excuse me, but in the past, it's all been determined on weather. If it's been good weather, why not make a few extra bucks? It's pretty simple. But I understand your position on it because it has been in the past. We're not gonna pay somebody another 2 weeks of wages. I understand that. But on the other hand, I don't know who said it, if you have a chance to make $6,500, do it.
Hey,
It's not rocket science.
I do have a couple of questions. What right now has your flow been? Have you had people kind of consistent through the week, afternoons more than mornings? I mean, like, what's your flow and members versus non-members?
Afternoons more than mornings, so we're opening later in the day, about 10 or 11. Monday through Thursday, then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're still booking probably 5 to 6 tea times on those days. Non-members, we're still having probably about 20-25 members flow through during the week as well. They do come in and purchase alcohol or candy or soft drinks and stuff throughout the day. The totals have not been very high the last week. We had a great day yesterday. So, I mean, it's hit and miss. If it's dead, we're closing at 6, 7 o'clock, opening at 10. We're trying to cut that labor cost down as well.
So I guess I have a question for the council. What would people think, yes, I understand going forward, watching stuff more, but where we do have open stuff, there is a wedding coming up. With whatever's left, we don't open anything else, that's been determined. What if we operated like noon to dark during the week, open a little more regular time on the weekend till it is either people quit coming or the weather gets to where they can't golf. We're able to try to make money that way and we keep costs down.
Jeannie, I'm not calling you out of turn here, but, on your, current, profit and loss on golf, where's golf sitting?
I didn't do golf as far as,
I think it's page 6.
oh, you mean the financials?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I just wanna know if
Golf?
I'm reading this properly.
It's in regards to the actual budget and what's remaining in this fiscal year that they have to spend. So that's that main page.
So that it's not a profit and loss statement.
I'm looking at this.
Oh, my treasurer's report. I'm sorry, I have too many things going on. Let me pull up my list. So I have not entered in September yet. So I'm guesstimating about $37,000 for September. Profit and loss. Alright, so year to date for golf, year to date income revenue is $227,414.06, but we've spent a little over that in expenses, which is $131.26. That includes both the clubhouse and the course itself, which I have not had a chance to split.
Sorry, what was the difference on the amounts, the loss?
It's a $12,717.20 difference between the revenue and the expense.
Plus the 30,000 that isn't being paid
So
back to the sewer.
Right, the September hasn't even been included.
So that's a negative number?
Yes,
So $12,000 negative.
as of August.
Plus the 30,000 that doesn't get paid annually to the sewer, so it's 42,000.
But September's not all in. I'm not,
Yeah,
And
so
with
it's not.
the wedding and the potential tournament, that could make a big difference.
and possibly cutting down hours open, but allowing people to come in and drink.
I'm not worried about that. I appreciate the discussion today. I'll make an amendment, or excuse me, I just cannot make it happen tonight. I'll make a motion to extend the season of the golf course and the clubhouse to October 13th, to include the members tournament.
I'll second the motion.
Grant,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Corbett,
Yes.
Alright, number 18. Discuss, approve, disapprove repair of the William Percy Homestead Cabin Roof repair, fascia replacement, gutter downspout, and threshold repair and caulking for Roger Campbell's agenda request. Estimated material cost is $400. Estimated labor cost is $400. The Crawford area fund has raised $380. So, Roger?
Thank you. How many of you know William Percy? What we're talking about is a homestead that he built in 1860. That's the tourist cabin out at the Caboose Cabin area. He lived in a cave in a mountain for 2 years until they built that house. And then sometime that homestead was moved here to the city, and I think it was down in the park. And then when there was a flood.
It was at Fort Rob, because my dad moved it in.
Guys, hold on.
It was, where was it?
Well, hold on. Let's do it by order. Mike, go ahead.
It was at Fort Rob, and I helped my dad move it to town where it's at now.
So it came from Fort Rob up here.
From where it come from before that, I don't know. But it was at Fort Rob.
It was supposedly 11 miles north and west of the fort, so. But anyways, that's an asset for the community. That and the caboose, along with many of the other buildings that we have in town. And the reason I got involved is the Chamber of Commerce is charged with staffing that in the summertime to deal with tourists that come to town. And when we get in there in the springtime, the roof is leaked. The fascia and soffit boards have all withered up and twisted and turned. The ridge cap has all blown off. So we have some immediate needs to take care of it right away. That's the approximate $400 and $400 in labor. The Crawford Area Fund has already accumulated about $380, I believe, that were gifts given to us to sort of help preserve that particular building. The Crawford Area Fund, how many of you know about that? Probably most everybody does. One of the neat things that they do, they are to promote our community and try to help make it better. They've done lots of things. This year so far, we've given $25,000 or $26,000 to Ponderosa Villa for flooring and for a new computer server. We've got $25,000 raised so far for the new emergency vehicle, which in the end is going to cost up almost $300,000 or more. We put up the new sign down there at Main and 3rd. And there's a lot of things that the Crawford Area Fund has done, and they're sort of taking this on as a project to sort of make sure that this building doesn't go in disrepair and we have to worry about tearing it down or doing something else with it. We have the $380. I don't know whether there's anything that the city could do, but the main thing we have to ask is, can you give us your approval so that we can do the work? I mean, it's owned by the city, so you're gonna have to give us approval to do that. That's one thing. The other thing that I have no understanding of, I'm relatively new here, is Keno funds. And when you look at the Keno funds, they say that it's for community betterment and maintenance of public structure. So are there any funds available from Keno funds that could help us maintain this building? This is just the beginning. In future years, it's going to need to be re-chinked. There's drainage issues that we're going to have to come in and move some of the dirt and the earth so that we can keep the rainfall away from it and things like that. So, number one, can we have the authority to do this? And then secondly, are there any way that we can get any financial help?
So I just want to make sure I understand your request accurately. Your total cost is $800 and you have $380 taken care of.
Well, we think it'll be $800. Jody Horkey came out and we spent an hour or so out there. He looked over the whole building. He gave me what he thought needed done. And so then I went down to Heron Brothers Hardware and asked for that material cost, and that's where I came up with that amount.
Sure. So you would be asking the city to help with $420?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the city, I'm sure would be appreciative of you taking care of the building.
And, you know.
Well, I don't know that it needs to come through the city that way. The bills don't need to be processed through the city. They can manage that on their own, can't they? We just donate to the fund.
But they need to approve.
Right.
Approve an amount, and then they would.
And then they can do.
They would submit a claim for whatever amount it is.
But if we just gave them Keno funds and they took care of it all, we weren't dealing with the bills.
To get Keno funds, they gotta file a Keno application,
Okay.
which would have to go through the council.
So at this time, all you're really asking for is the $420 and then power to continue on looking at ways to improve the structure.
And eventually have some kind of a committee to see what we can do to keep this building secure. And is there any way it could maybe be moved to a historical site? I don't know. And Because if it becomes a historical site, then we're gonna have to do certain things differently.
Yeah, as president of the Historical Society, I was like, what is he asking? But, because it was given to the city, and I confirmed with Charvale, who was my predecessor, and she said, no, the Historical Society never was involved with it. But of course, we would love it to maintain the historical look and so on that it has now. So,
Might be nice to have a historical registry building here in town.
So we do have
We
to
do.
be, so with Keno funds, we've been informed that, because tax stuff is changing, that to expect less Keno from here on out.
So what I'm gonna say right now is gonna end the discussion on the $800. As a representative of C's Driving, I'm gonna cover the $420. But as far as future plans and so forth, I'd ask that you present to council, and I'm maybe speaking out there, but my hope would be that you come up with an idea for a committee and or a list of possible members or something along that lines where, because we don't have
Right.
And I just,
And it
but at
shouldn't
this
be-
point, this part, I would just,
It
we'll take
really
care of the
should,
420.
it's something that the community ought to take responsibility for.
And that's, I'm leading, I hope, by a little bit of example, because again, we ain't rich, but we'll cover the $420, and that gets you through the first hurdle, and that's in hopes that helps push you.
So in light of that donation, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve that those fixes be made.
Second.
Alright,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gibby,
As long as my wife doesn't know I said we're. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Sam, you
Appreciate
have a
that.
question?
Yeah, I just wanna make one correction, so it doesn't be paper. We only gave the nursing home about $14,000. It was 7,000, well, about 15, 7,000 for the server and then like 8,500 for the flooring. So I just wanted to make sure that was correct.
Still help.
Nice contribution.
Yes. Secondly, as far as the committee goes, I think the Crawford Area Fund has agreed to take that and run with it, so.
That's what I want, that's what
I don't know that we need to
trying to
have.
get clarity on.
Yeah, so, I think that's already, I think we were just asking for help, cause like the city,
Motion to approve their Crawford.
strapped with funds also.
And coordination.
So, thank you.
Alright, thank you.
We'll, table 19 then, or no action?
no action.
No action. 20, discuss, approve, disapprove financial report comprised of treasurer's reports from fiscal year 2023-24.
Okay. I hope everybody bears with me, there's quite a few reports, and I'm, oh, I thought I was, I'm sorry. There's quite a few reports, from here on out. I am gonna be doing the 22-23, and I'm gonna spread those out. But I wanted to get this fiscal year done, so I'm gonna try to go through them quickly. And, Ashley's got some of the information as I go through it. So the one thing that we wanted to make sure was the previous month got carried over for the ending balances. So this treasurer report here is directly from the program G-Works, and it'll tell you if you scroll up just below that ending where it's underlined. That's the ending cash balance in G-Works for previous month. So this one happens to be September 2023 to carry over into October 2023. So the next page, this is the start of the report. If those that were here during the time Linda Jensen helped put this together. So It works beautifully, it goes quickly once you get the hang of it. So this is October 2023, and that very first column where it says September 2023, if you scroll down, that's the amount that's carried over from September. So that's that. And then of course it gives revenue for the month, and it gives expenses for the month. So the first half of this I'm going to try to do quickly, and I'll kind of slow down in August, the very last one, before we close out the fiscal year. So the ones that say change in assets and change in liabilities, this comes directly from the treasurer's report from G-Works, which the first page that you saw. I'm still getting the hang of what these figures are. Some of them I'm aware of, when I can look them up quite quickly, I can tell you what they are. Just happens to be on this one, which is the library, $385.20, change in liability. This happens to be a payment. That one I found easily. Others may be interest that comes in, things like that. So the ones I am aware of, I'll tell you as we go along. And then the ending balance. This is, like I said, this is the cash balance all the way over the right-hand side. Going down, the total cash balance for the October is $447,416.71. This is in G-Works only. So the following page is going to give you the information to balance out to the Superior First Bank information. The total bank is $496,498.35, so that's what we have cash, not the G-Works. So anything in between is going to show you any of the outstanding transactions that were not reconciled. So that's that top part within the month. It starts off in October, being the new fiscal year. The prior ones are from the previous fiscal year. I tried to clean up as much as I could before the audit took place, but I really can't touch it afterwards. So it kind of has to remain there. But if anybody has any questions as I go along. But it does balance out with all the unreconciled and all the outstanding balances. They balance out between G-Works cash and the bank cash. And this is only our general account. It doesn't include the Keno, the ARPA funds, savings account, nothing is included, just the general account. And the next page, this does give you information for October, what our bank balances were and what accounts we actually have. And between all of them, including the CDs that we have, which is the loans estate with the library, we have the homestead and the CRs, everything totals like $1,859,575. The rest of it, I wasn't really going to discuss until the end, but this page gives all the revenue for each department. This being the start of the fiscal year, the revenue and the expenses are going to match. So $81,433.83 to the same year-to-date $81,433.83. So, because everything starts over. And then next page is expenses. The same thing for expenses, $95,233.26, and year-to-date is exactly the same. We have a profit and loss after that. This one is between the revenue and the expenses from the previous sheets. It gives the year-to-date for them, the profit and loss. And of course, the very end is at this time we're in the negative because we had more expenses. It was in negative $2,194.71.
And what's the period of time for that? I'm sorry.
What do you mean? Oh, this is just for October, the brand new fiscal.
So this would be as of the date, October 31st, 2023?
Yes.
So that date.
We have a question.
How come golf isn't in there?
It is
Oh, it
the
is on
bottom.
the bottom, never mind.
33%.
Yeah.
It's a loss of 25,727.
Okay, thank you.
And the very last page, it just gives, the property taxes. This is in the middle of their fiscal year. So their fiscal year ends in June. So that's why there's, at this point, year to date is the 57,000. But this is just month to month what we receive for property taxes. And then we go into, we're going into November, but it's gonna show the treasury report for October. And our ending balance was the $447, 416 cents, or $416.71, which carries over into the new treasurer's report. Sorry, they're sideways. I was wondering about that. Okay, so if you scroll down a little, that bottom number is coming over from October. And this is the cash in G-Works. So it's gonna give you the previous month, October, gonna give you the current November revenue expenses. The change in assets, the ones I am familiar with, was the top general change in assets for the $13,000. This was a bank transfer for the ARPA funds. The one below it, there's one for lottery. This is a deposit into our lottery account. Remember that these two columns, I'm still learning out why they fall in those line items there, or those columns. So the more I do this, the more I'll learn. So, okay, so for golf, if those are aware, the season is pretty much closed, but they're still getting a profit. And I think that's because they have when the weather's good, they could go out, they could do the golf, and they have the little deposit where they can put their money in. But they're closed at this point. Okay, the next one will show that we balance. G-Works, we have the 623,000 up at the top, but of course we have to adjust for the outstanding information. This is one thing between October, November, and December. I discussed with G-Works, there's outstanding balances. Three different phone conversations with them have determined that it was not within the posting period, so there's 2 to 3 different amounts. They fall off in January. So in December, October, November, December, they're up top there showing the transaction not within the posting period. It gives you the amounts, which helps us balance. So as of January, they're gone. So neither one of us, G-Works or me, could find them. But that's how he said how to approach that situation since they disappeared. They were reconciled off and fixed. So on the bottom shows that we actually balance $739,000. I want to make sure that everybody's okay with me going pretty quickly and kind of getting past these months and getting to August. Are you okay with that, or? Yeah, okay. All right, so we will jump ahead again and get into December, the treasurer's report. Yeah, there should be
Yes, tell me when I get there.
This next page is
This
the
one?
treasurer's report, yeah. You got it. So the November ending balance was the $623,655.13. On the next page, it shows that carrying over for the first column for November. This is 623, 655.13. Revenue and expenses. The one I'm familiar with that is in the general account under change in assets. This is when the CDAR CD was cashed and put into the bank. It's gonna sit there for a month or two, I think maybe next month, but probably once it comes off and gets put back into CDs, but it's sitting there at this point. The liability, this happens to be a third quarter missed EFT payment, as well as if you go down pool, I think, no, it was a park, another third quarter sales tax payment, so those are the ones I found out about. The next page will show that we do balance. This is the very last amount in December, it's $19.90 that couldn't be found. So, not within the posting period. And again, repeat for the bottom, all the older transactions. But we do balance at $473,904.73. The next one does show that the CDARS is now zeroed out at the very bottom of the CDs that was cashed out. We still have the homestead and the loans. But those are all the bank balances. We have $1,572,634.88 with all our accounts. Okay, so we can skip to
The next treasurer's report?
yeah, thank you. So this is gonna be our January one, so this is December. The amount, $422,582.64 was December's balance, ending balance in G-Works. So it gets carried over on the right-hand column, or the left-hand column, sorry, $422,582.64. Revenue expenses, I am aware of the street that has $18,219. This is the Kinetic Leasing Street Sweeper. I think it's a payment. I'm not sure why it's in the negative or why it would be under assets. I'm going to look into that, but I gotta figure out why they're in those two columns. Then if we go to the next page, this shows that we are in balance. We start with 467,000. Those figures are off up at the top that we don't know what they are, but the rest of them are unreconciled. And down below, prior to September, those are the old ones I can't touch. But we balance at $499,005.52. We will skip to the next one. This is January's treasurer report in G-Works. We end off in January at $467,598.88. That is brought over on the left-hand side. 467,598.88. Is this the one that I didn't fix? Okay. I am aware of the lottery. Again, that was another deposit that's showing up. That's the only one that I'm familiar with in those assets and liabilities. The next page. This one starts something new. We are slowly going over to a new cloud version of G-Works. And the one portion that is already there is what's called the receipt management, which is on the utility billing side. So that has slightly changed. And I've been noticing that when transactions that were entered in do not get reconciled off, they either get put under not within the posting period or they're pending. So they're gonna show up at the top. They're just in a different spot than all the other checks and payroll and whatnot. So I just kind of classified them differently. And again, the same with the older stuff. And we do balance at $498,214.71 between G-Works and Security First. And then we can skip again. Alright, so we are going into March. It'll show the February's treasury report at $445,727.37 ending balance. Gets transferred over on the left-hand side. 445,727.37. Not familiar with anything in the asset and liability. I didn't find that out. So we can skip to the next page. the G-Works ending balance for this month was the $475,056.86. Then we adjust all our outstanding and we balance at $484,648.44. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, the next one, I just wanna mention that, the next page there.
Jeannie?
Yes.
So on
Oh, no.
February, March, I guess it's March 31st, page 1.
Hold on, let me get back to it.
Are we going back to the treasurer's report?
Cash report of the city treasurer.
Thank you.
Going into March?
Yeah.
Oh, February.
The
'cause we are
February
in-
29th, yeah.
We are in March.
It's
Yeah,
page
this
1
one.
of March.
This one.
Okay.
So help me understand, so when I look at, say, the golf.
Okay.
It shows a negative of 185,746.60, expenses 9,300, approximately total at that point is 195,000 in the negative. Is that the budgeted amount plus they're spending right now and we haven't started signing checks? Is that why it looks like it's? so
Yeah,
high?
it looks that way because it's in the beginning of their season, and usually at the beginning of the golf season, they have to do repairs on the course, they have to load up on their liquor, and they have to get everything set.
But that's what I'm saying, that first initial call at 185, is that what we have budgeted? And
No.
since they're already spending money, like, so.
Well, there's already a budget for the fiscal years, but that number is not the budget number.
So what is that number that I'm looking at, is 185,000?
That's the number that was spent
That month.
the previous month carrying over to
It's-
this,
it-
yeah.
Right, I think it's the carryover.
Yeah.
Basically, the last 5 years or 10 years, I think it's just flowing through.
So
which I
it's
think-
just a continuous negative?
Which,
so we-
which it was at 300,000 at one point, you know, the fact that they're on.
Oh, yeah, I'm just trying to.
But I think that's what it is, just if you went back,
Total loss.
Wrap your mind around it, yeah.
if you went back with the history, you'd find it's less.
It's that amount that's due back to the city, correct?
Some, yeah.
This
But that
is,
doesn't include the annual 30,000. That's a totally separate.
Well, that 30,000 is the pay down on it.
That 30,000, we paid
So
that
that's the sewer
towards
money?
that, yeah, or whatever, the extra money.
Well, whatever money they've allocated, whatever money they've allocated to that. You'd have to look through your history of it, I guess.
that figure is the revenue and expense total between the two of them from the previous month. So when the golf starts up, they have a lot more expenses, and then their money starts coming in.
I'm just trying to identify the fact of where, so we know the city pays the $30,000 back to the sewer, correct? That the golf is actually supposed to be doing.
That's, yes, Department of
So,
Revenue required
That
the attempt.
30,000, is it coming out of golf? Is it showing a negative 30,000 out of golf or just out of the general funds for the city?
It's not showing in the 30,000 at this point.
Nowhere?
At this point, not on this treasury report. And honestly, this is the one thing that I just learned about this year, coming into this position. And that's a question that I'm gonna be looking into, and how previously it was done and paid, or, so that I am not familiar with right now. I am aware of it, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it's completed.
Connie, you've got some?
Yes.
When the state came back and told us they had to start paying that money back to the city, we set it up that we would pay back 30,000. The first year was the only year we had the money to do it, so in years since then, we haven't been paying that back. Because the golf hasn't made any money.
The state never set an amount, it was you will attempt to service this debt.
Oh, we haven't attempted it since year one.
Oh, wait.
They haven't had the money.
And I haven't come across the paperwork. I know there's something, that states this, but I haven't done it yet,
Thank you.
so. Okay, so I'm forgot where I left off here, I'm sorry. So the treasurer's court, the balance forward, I did not look into what was in the assets and liability, there's such small amounts. So the ending balance for this month in G-Works is $475,056.86. So if we go over to the next page, oh, I'm sorry, we're down a little.
Further down, like,
Yeah,
There
really.
usually, and then the next one.
okay.
Yeah, 475, yeah, that's the one we're on right now.
Great.
But the that shows the balance that I just stated as of March, so 475,000.
Thank you.
So the next one, so starting at the 475, we have all the outstanding, and we do match after we calculate those in with the bank at $484,648.44. Okay, so this is the one on this next page that shows we actually took that CR's money and invested it back in CDs. So there's 3 separate CDs, one for 176,000 and 2 for 10,000. So that's the beginning of those 3 CDs. Then we can skip to the next month. This is for April. Treasurer's report for March. The ending for March was $475,056.86. That's carried over on the next page. Yeah. I think we're on the wrong month.
Are we on May?
No, we're on April.
Oh, you can.
Third of April, so we're a month ahead.
Yeah, we're at the previous month, because that is the ending April. And I was like, that amount's not matching.
So we're back to April?
I thought we just started April, because we just finished March.
This is April 30th. For the May report.
Yes, I'm sure. Which one are you on? Are you on the March 31st ending to the April 30th
Yeah,
start?
we're starting the new April one.
So down, go down.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so it's one more. They're 7 pages long. I'm sorry.
No, you're
You're
good.
fine.
I'm just,
So
okay, so
there's,
this is March, right
yeah.
here.
So this is the one we're on.
Okay.
It's a little sideways.
Yes.
Okay, that's the $475,056.86. And then the next page, we show carrying forward. On the left-hand side, yep, and the 475. At this point, I think the assets and liabilities, there's large dollar here. I didn't investigate at this point, I was running behind, but I'll definitely find out and report on them. So the ending balance for that month was $400,812.55. With the outstanding balances, it matches with Security First Bank at $504,523.54. The next page with all the bank balances is the same. We should read $1,649.87 or $87.10. I'm sorry, I always do the cents on the dollars. Okay, so we're getting into the next month. And we're showing April's totals was the $400,812.55. And on the next page, it shows that carrying over. On the left-hand side, 400. Again, I ran out of time looking into the assets and liabilities, but the ending balance for May was $392,638.72. This is again just to repeat the G-Works dollar amount. We'll carry that over to the next page, do all the outstanding transactions. Again, the ones above There was some unmatched posting within a different period that were not utility, but most of them were the utility billing. And we do match the bank at $482,501.84. Next, the regular, the bank, I'm sorry, I keep skipping the bank balances. All the bank balances total $1,627,284, or $627,284.68. Hope I'm on the right. So we're gonna go into June. We're getting there. Almost done. This shows May. We have May's balance at $392,638.73. Next page shows that carrying over. Alright, I'm gonna continue on to the actual balance for June, which is $378,677.41. And on the next page, after all the outstanding balances, we match the bank at $411,692.04. And then next page, what we have in the bank is $1,526,069.49. Nothing's changed with the CDs. Actually, I think there's one point where, I can't remember what month, but the homestead one was also cashed. I think I missed that one, so I apologize, but that was cashed and put into G-Works directly and has not been touched. It's still sitting there. And that was, the sale of the park building. And that was split between street and park, and the remaining amount has been put in general. Okay, I think we can move on to the next one.
The next month?
Yeah, July. So this being June's, we have $378,677.41 carried over into July. On that left-hand side is the 378. The balance for July is actually $395,668.67. And into the next page, with all the outstanding, we match the bank at $394,339.94. And then the next page, our balance in all our accounts is $1,588,173.99. Okay, we are into August. This is the final one. Okay, so with the July report, we ended the balance at $395,668.67. We carried that over. It shows on the left-hand side, the 395. Our revenue for this last month totals $164,804.74 for all departments. So expenses are $269,756.77. There was change in assets, like I said, I've not had a chance to look into these. And our ending balance is the $235,657.20. There was one I did look into, and that's the obvious, which was the Keno. That's $4,300. That was the senior pro rodeo as a transfer. Okay, so we go into the next section. So we carry that The 235,000 after all outstanding balance are factored in, we match the bank at $344,416.94. Okay. So the bank balances between all our accounts, they're at $1,533,673.76.
Hey Gina,
Yes.
quick question.
Sure.
On the pool, it's showing income where it wasn't open. Why are we having income?
I think at one point they received a donation.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that's what that was. I don't know if you can ring a bell with me, Julie, if it was the,
Was that the grant for swimming lessons
Yeah,
that came in
maybe.
and then we lost it because we couldn't open? Was that, cause that would be probably close to that.
It was 4,000 and some, I'll tell you where you're at.
Maybe it's a couple of them together. I think, so maybe it was that one. I don't know. It's probably-
A donation to show kids out to floor pool.
yeah, that's that $100, that, yeah, that, I'm pretty sure that was a donation going directly to.
Well, one of them was 6,000, one of the months was 6,000 plus, so that's
Yeah,
why
that
we're
was
just
the
trying to.
grant.
But is that gonna then
And
show a
then they
negative
got
to
that
the
back out.
No, that grant is remaining as it is. I talked to, can't remember her name.
Buffy?
Yeah, Buffy, that she said right now they just wanna keep it there,
It's
into
approval
the,
to just hold it.
yeah, they don't
Cool.
wanna, they're not gonna require us to return that money, so. Okay, so we are on the bank, I think the bank balances. Okay, so our revenue, the current revenue for the month is $62,500.
Which page are you on, Gina?
4, I'm sorry.
income report of the city treasurer is the
Thank you.
title.
$62,568.84. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm reading only the first portion. Total between the top and the enterprise funds is $164,804.74 for the income for the month. And the year-to-date income is $2,852,341.18. They do mention the budget figures on here, but it's mainly the expenses that the budget kind of ties into, which is on the next page. Are we switched in this page?
Yes.
Okay, so our total expenses just for the month are $269,756.77. At the very bottom has net profit loss, and that's just between the revenue for that month and the expenses. At $104,952.03 in the negative. And the year to date, that portion right there is a little confusing to me because we also have a profit and loss year to date on the next page. But, year to date expenses are $2,747,826.87.
So we profited according to this?
Hmm?
We made a profit according to this?
We saw it one more month, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this next page does show profit and loss year to date. So that's that $104,514.31, so more income than expense. And then the very last page is the property taxes. I just want everybody to know that the Ross County property tax is a different fiscal year than us. They end in June, so they start out everything in July. That's why they're not showing a large year to date that we have. So. Does anybody have any questions? I know I flew through that.
Thank you so much.
No questions? Okay.
Thank you.
So the.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you very, very much.
I think she has more.
I do, and I did pass these out. These were actually I wanted to have this accomplished, and I actually did it as of today, and it just gives a 1 month scenario of our finances. I did, and you don't have a copy of this, Ashley.
I don't.
And there is a copy up here if anybody wants it. But this just shows the end of the budget, amounts that are remaining that we can spend. It's just an idea of what it has on there. Like general has $9,928.25. They did not go over the budget. Police did not. Street has like $267,000 plus dollars. Our garbage, Swan, we did go over. A lot of changes within that department as far as people that we use with Swan, so we did go over budget on that.
Is any of that the grant on that?
What?
$284,805 there? Is any
And
of that from
that
the grant?
could be that, but,
Paying
it's
back
still
on that?
within the department, so it should balance each other out. In
Right.
and out from the bank to pay that. And they're
But I
really,
was just curious, did we ever get the check in for the return
So
on
that-
that?
That doesn't make a lot of sense, cause our garbage contract's technically cheaper with Swan than it was before. If we're looking at pennies, I
So-
mean, it shouldn't be a big
Yeah.
difference, but it's technically cheaper with Swan than what we had for a previous
So-
contract.
So my question is
With the
are we not
dumpster
showing
contract.
we've been reimbursed on the dumpster contract?
That might be, well, but this would be,
no, we're showing that the money came in from the bank. Oh, you mean from the actual grant? Yeah, we
Yeah.
received the grant money.
Oh, yes.
well, yes, we did
Right.
receive the grant money, but is it represented on here? Because that would be an appropriate amount for that to be considered, for that number to look more accurate, cause it's odd that it's that big. There should be no reason for it to be that big.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it and why it's that big, but, these are the figures that we actually got out of G-Work compared to, the budget that was entered in. And I do know that that grant that we received the money back went into the garbage fund directly.
Right.
So I can find out why it's.
I would just double check all of the ins and outs on all the systems with that, cause that's just really odd for that amount to be that much in the hole.
Yeah.
Especially where our contracts were not drastically different. We didn't have any.
Swan would look more expensive in a way
It does.
because it used to be split between two, now it's
It's still
all.
technically cheaper because
No,
the
no.
portion that we had done
Correct.
out is cheaper with Swan.
But
It's just all as a whole. But we still put our income and expenses with,
Brand,
our previous company under that same area, so I mean, it's still gonna look very similar. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be that far off, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't know how it was entered into the system prior to using Swan, but a lot of the money that comes in goes into sewer and water. And only Swan comes out of the garbage at this point, so I'll find out. I'll dig deeper into.
But our city utility should have a chunk of that goes into garbage. Maybe that's where it's off. Well, but it should represent
what we pay out every time should be coming back in.
Yeah, it should be more of a
because
wash,
it
it should not be a
It
deficit
should
to
come
us.
out even because we're paying,
So we might need to look at how that's
the
structured.
taxpayer, or not taxpayers, the people in town are paying what we're paying out.
Should be
Except
making a
for
profit.
the
It
few
should be a
city
wash.
things.
Right.
flow through.
Yeah, it should, so we
So it
shouldn't see
shouldn't
that,
be
so there might be a
that
setup
amount
issue.
off.
Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Well, we used to, when we had Stump, we got, what, 5%?
Right.
Yeah, for sending out the bills. I don't know if we still get that or not.
I
thought
can't,
we-
I don't have.
I thought we saved that, but we're still technically doing part of the billing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I thought that part of the contract held over.
I thought so.
I don't think so, I think Jody had mentioned that the portion of the contract, that they provided, the dumpsters for us on most,
But it's not the dumpsters, it's the 5% is for us to bill, to do the billing.
Oh,
So
I
the
see.
billing goes out on our utility bills, and so Jody keeps track of the billing. And that, so it's the 5% to pay us, the city back, for her effort in that.
Okay,
So I think that
Yeah,
carried over.
I'll get with her too, and how everything is set up.
Sure.
Do you know what our budgeted amount was for this year, what our starting budgeted amount?
I think
The reason I'm asking is because of what we spent on the
the
report.
garbage particularly?
Well, no, just the last, second to last page of the big monthlies, showing that we're profit loss 104,000, and then looking at this 700,000 and possibly 900 plus thousand, we still have remaining on the budget.
It's
$1
just
million.
just like what, Mike explained. They
Blown up amount.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we budgeted way
So
heavy
this really
in
doesn't
case.
help.
No, this
This
paper
doesn't
here
really-
does not tell us that we can spend that money.
Right.
No, I wouldn't.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't know what the basis of it is.
Right.
So we had a high amount last year we budgeted, knowing full well we weren't planning on using all that, but just in case.
But it's also an inflated,
It's
your
budget.
budget number is an inflated number, like
Just
the
like we
accountant
did this
told us,
year.
because you're hoping to get grants and whatnot, so you can't really base anything off the budget.
So essentially what this does, according to this report, is it would have left $698,000, to use, if we would have got a,
If we would've got all grants and everything that we budgeted for, so. Basically though, this second to last page tells us right now where we're at, as far
Yeah,
as
yeah,
104 grand.
yeah. I had it was a month
Until
ago.
the month.
Yeah.
Okay, so, just to repeat a little, just the amount that Chris had mentioned, the remaining budget amount is the $698,246.71. We have remaining, not that we're gonna use it, it's just for information purposes. Yeah. The one thing I did write up is an example for September's financial report, and I'm only using specific accounts. I'm only using the general account, which most things go in and out of, which is the operations account, the savings account. I added in the CD balances, but I'm not including the loans estate library one, that's directly for them. I have an estimated remaining revenue to come in at $40,000+, and I have year-end expenses, which is actually a calculation of all the warrants that we actually have to be signed right now at $142,346.92 as of today. So just to add and subtract, we have our general account, as of today, the balance is $251,259.09. Our savings account is $629,481.77. Our CDs, not including the loans, is $201,193.04. And then if you want to add the estimated revenue expenses in there that to be received, are $1,122,133.90. I'm gonna take that and get rid of the September expenses right off the bat. It's $979,786.98. And this was, next part was recommended by Dan to make sure we have our contingency money in there. Estimated at $250,000 that we don't really want to touch, contingency. And then day-to-day monthly funds, we generally spend $200,000 to $300,000 a month. Since we're already past the majority of September, I just put in $150,000. And that we're gonna minus off that $979,000. But I also think we should take off money in the savings account, which is the RTS funds that get transferred over. I only put $50,000, which is 1 year's worth. There's much more in there. The insurance premium that we transfer over to the savings, which we're gonna have to pay out here soon. And the NDEE bond funds, which is $150,000 for the year. We have one payment left this year, but you can only carry it over. That totals $313,373, also to deduct from that 979. And our balance in the end is $266,413.98. We're not sure whether we're going to get the highway allocation funds. They could be late because of the audit still in process. And then of course, the electrical that was discussed during the meeting. I don't know whether anything is going to be spent on that or not, but that is a look at September. So that's.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm pretty much done. It's not going to be as long next time, I promise. No. Okay. Oh, other than my dollars to cents.
And I'm just trying to keep up.
No, you did awesome. I confused you many a time.
What, we're gonna no action.
Okay.
That way we have time to digest.
Yeah.
Jeannie?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, just, this final report for September 2024 that we created.
Yes.
The numbers as you look at them, like the operations, general account, bank balance, let's say on page 3 of the big bundle, those numbers are basically what we're looking at, is that correct?
We're looking at the treasurer's reports. I
Yeah,
gotta
it says
pull
it
out
on
my
the
office.
first, so it's pretty
I
close.
mean, so like, we
We got
started
one
with
more month in it.
1.7 mil,
Right.
a year later, we're at 266,000 after we pay our bills this month. Is that what I'm missing?
Which line item are you looking at?
No, we should have more than that.
What are we looking at? What page?
Page 3,
3.
Which line item?
Well, page 3 is our bank.
Oh, yeah.
so
The
the
bank
amount of money totals
Mhm.
in there.
Yeah.
What he's asking is if we've lost well over $1 million this year, that's what he's asking.
As far as spending cash, available spending.
That I would have to calculate it off the top of my head. I'm not that good.
Okay.
So I can come up with that figure for you, but.
But this is only September of year prior.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, okay, we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of
Yep.
What we've been
So, we're gonna take no action on that. As far as, bills, claims, requisitions, Adam, I can go ahead and look for a motion and my signature on everything, 'cause sure. At this point, waiting another half hour for me to sign is a while.
I'll make a motion pending, Shane's signature on the claims, requisition orders and transfers, please, and bills.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Torbeck.
Yes.
Alright, and before we go to the next part, I do want to go back quick and just state that the September 20th, 2024 budget hearing special meeting that we approved was an emergency item also, so we could get that out to our auditors, or not auditors, our auditors, so we can move forward to get hopefully our funding. So I just wanted to make a note of that, but that was also an emergency item we added. So, at this point, I would like to move to go into executive session, if I can get a, motion.
I'll second the
I'm
That's
sorry, I didn't hear.
regarding
Who made the
personnel.
motion? Dean,
Yes.
Gabby,
motion. Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Torbeck.
Yes.
Alright. Everybody else, please step outside.